This week on the Walk On podcast. And on game day, right, there's an outcome, there's an end. You won, you lost, you can take something from the loss, but how do you get people to see those game days in the work you're doing?
People say, okay, sports has a clear win, define metrics. Someone took the time to define a clear win, define those metrics. And so if an organization takes the time to define what phase are we in right now, what are we actually trying to accomplish, so you can have those super highs, or you know if you lost and need to recalibrate.
Thinking about exactly what to do to you.
Welcome to the Walk On podcast. If this is your first time, welcome in. If it's a return visit, we appreciate you being here. For those that are new, or maybe just as a reminder, the Walk On podcast is really about people trying to find their path to purpose and passion in the work they do and the leadership they provide. I started this journey for me a couple of years ago in that position, trying to figure out in the back portion of my career, what do I want to do? I'm excited to report that one of the things I've picked up is I've decided I wanted to wade into the field of executive leadership and performance coaching. I am hopefully, knock on wood, about to graduate. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, it may have happened, but in the next couple of weeks. So it's been a great journey for me, and I'll share more about that. But this podcast isn't about me. It's about the people that are doing that work and leading with passion and purpose. And so I'm thrilled with today's guest. I've known him for a couple of years now. We met through one of my consulting clients. And before I go into an introduction on his really impressive resume, I will say one of the things that I really resonated with, we are both parents to young children, and he's smiling. I feel the same about my young child, and so I really admire his leadership at home and the work and love he and his wife share for their child. But my guest today is Mohamed Massaquoi. He is the managing principal at VESSOL. In that work, he's an organizational psychologist, a speaker who's passionate about helping organizations overcome their resistance to change, unlocking growth opportunities, and strengthening teamwork. Before that, Mo was a pro athlete. He played in the NFL for 5 years. He was a second-round draft pick by the Cleveland Browns, and he played 5 seasons in the NFL. He was also a financial professional at Morgan Stanley after that work. But back to today, he leverages his diverse experiences to help companies and individual executives thrive through teamwork and navigating change. And I'm just thrilled to have you on, Mo. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. What's this talk about back half of your career? You're still a young man.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to zing me and say my back third or quarter. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Maybe I just look younger than I am.
Yeah. Keep smiling.
Well, welcome on. I know I just scratched the surface there, but why don't you share a little bit more about yourself for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah. So people call me Mo, some people call me Mass, depending on what part of the country I'm in. Former athlete, like you said. I came into this work of really organizational psychology, speaking, change management, as a result of an ATV accident where I lost my left hand. And people start to ask, hey, how did you get through that change? How do you lose the thing that made you at one point to reinvent yourself? And that really just sparked my curiosity of, okay, what are the structures? Sometimes we have these frameworks that we can't follow because life doesn't always happen in this clean sequence for us. And so really just dove into it, and it allows me to combine my background of sports, combine my love of psychology, combine my love of people, complex dynamic, and just having a lot of fun right now.
That's fantastic. And I know your company's a couple of years old at this point.
So we started in 2018. So we've been rocking and rolling. We made it through COVID. Got on the other side. People still trust us to not break anything.
But that's a long-term process at this point. 5 years or so, maybe 6 years. I'm not great at math. I went to Hobart College where we focused on many things. Math was not one of them. But so yes, let's dive in there a little bit. You know, starting a company is really a high risk reward endeavor, and you'd mentioned your change. What was that process like for you? Because I saw that you went back to school as part of this transition.
Yeah, so if I give you the long and short of it, when I retired from the NFL, you're at the mountaintop of the career that you chose to be in. Unfortunately, you can't play sports forever. Some people get injured, some people just get old, whatever the circumstances are. I just kept getting injured. And so I didn't play as long as I wanted to, but when you're devoting all of your attention to this craft that you actually hit, you haven't really started fleshing out what the other options are. And so I went to Morgan Stanley because it was a really great company, really great opportunity to start a career, but it wasn't the thing that was passionate to me or that I necessarily had the best skill set to do. Coming from running 100 miles an hour and then sitting behind a desk is kind of a culture shock. But what happened was when my accident happened, I did a piece on it and people found out about my story. And then they started to say, hey, can you come and talk to us about change? Talk to us about teams, talk to us about being resilient, growth mindset. And I was like, oh, I don't even know what this is. And started to meet a couple organizational psychologists and talk about what I wanted to do. And that really sparked my interest to go back to school, because when you're being trusted with individuals and their companies and their leadership, you want to know what you're doing and not just pull off the hip. And so I get a chance to pull from my sports background, get a chance to pull from organizational psychology, get a chance to pull from life, and really combine those things to create something that clients can grow through and change through and orient teams and create space for conversation that may not exist.
Yeah, there's such an right. One of the buzzwords is authenticity, right? But you're pulling from an authentic experience of change. And I'm going to jump ahead to a question that I was thinking about later on as you're talking to people about change, because that's whether it's forced upon us through downsizing or an accident. What are some of the key things you help clients understand or think about as they're navigating change? What are some of those initial sort of pivot points that you help them gravitate to as they're going through that process?
Well, so a few things. I'm giving them credit that they actually know how to go through change because they've done it in other areas of life. And so we try to make this not as daunting of a process of, you've had multiple jobs before, you've gone through multiple periods of your life. Sometimes it's been opportunity, sometimes it's been challenging. So we figure that out. The thing that we may not be dealing with is reality of this is going to suck. This is going to be very hard. This is going to stretch us. We may be depressed. We may feel anxious. We may lose people. We may lose parts of ourselves. And being able to confront those things really head on in a very safe way. And I think the other thing is allowing people to use their authentic experiences to be a part of the solution. I think a lot of times when outsiders come in, they're trying to tell you what to do. And I don't actually know where we'll end up. We'll figure that out together. But there is a process of how to think about these things, not necessarily sequentially. This is A through Z.
Yeah, I think, going through the leadership coaching program I'm going through, and we're Ivy League competitors, Harvard, Brown, we'll duke that out later. But, we start from a framework of our clients are whole and capable. And so they have what's inside them to make these decisions or make these transitions. It's our job to give them a process, give them a safe framework. You said a safe environment. That's really the starting point, is they have what they need.
Yeah, and it's the art and the science from what do I tell them, what do I create the space so they take ownership and discover it on themselves. And sometimes you may have to prompt so that you get individuals directionally aligned, which is more of sports coaching, where somebody's going to give you a playbook, give you situational awareness. This is what you do. And then sometimes it's, let's tinker around. What do you know that you haven't mapped onto this problem? What do we know collectively, where we all have individual puzzle pieces that if we put them together, we get what we want? And it's that really nice fine dance that you allow an individual to go through, a team to go through, an organization to go through, with the understanding that this can still be fun, even though there's chaos around us.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that, to me, chaos is fun, trying to put order out of chaos. I find that interesting. I'm curious, going through a coaching program, my perspective changed. When people came to me for advice, I was always like, well, here's what you should do. And as you know, as an organizational psychologist, right, you have to, for it to stick, people have to arrive at the destination on their own. So how did you navigate that change from, I was a pro football player, here was the playbook, I'm going to learn it inside and out, and then I'm going to run the plays based on the things that come at me, versus giving people the room for change? How did you make sense of that difference as you come to the work you do now?
For me, it's more, how do you think about this? Because if I were to use football, each week we have a different opponent. And so we know we're going to have a different game plan. Within a game, we're going to have different situations. Somebody may get hurt, the down and distance may change, the weather may change. And really, if you can create situational awareness, audibles, and this is how we choose to go about this, then you give people a suite of options. And it's the same thing for any organization I'm working with. This is fundamentally the reality of what we're going through right now. These are your options to get through it. Now, how we order those options may be different, but we have to get through it because the game is going to start when the game starts. And if not, then you forfeit. And then next week, we're going to have a different opponent. And if not, we forfeit. And so we're either going to continue to regress or we're going to continue to proceed. And this is the set of options that we can use to move forward.
Yeah. I'm curious as you're talking through that, and I'm not outing her on this, but my wife is, when I start talking in sports metaphors, she's lost, right? That is not her desired field of discussion. How much do you bring those sports metaphors? Because that's your lived experience a lot of ways. How much do you bring that into the work you do, and how do you translate that into, organizational speak?
I'm bringing anything that I think you will understand as a reference point. And so if we are in New York and we have to talk about the Finger Lakes, I'm going to use that as the reference point. If someone's a sports fan, I'm going to use that as a reference point. If you're in the music, whatever the hook is to get you to see this problem differently and understand that I conceptually understand it in this discipline. How do I bring it into this discipline?
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then we're talking with objective language. And now it's no longer me versus Mike. It's us attacking this problem that we both are starting to see pretty plainly. And so I'll use a sports metaphor in the right context, but then I may be working with a group that doesn't care about sport. And so it's up to me to understand who are these individuals in the room? What do they care about? It could be kids. It could be academia. It could be whatever. That is where the fun starts to happen. Like what can I scratch that's going to get the light bulb to click? And then we can layer on all the theory and org psych terminology that helps, bring a little more scientific rigor to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to pivot back to something we were talking about, because it's been on the top of my mind since I knew you were coming on as a guest, and I'm thrilled to have you. We've talked about it. I played sports through college at a much different level than you did, obviously, but I really find it difficult to experience those moments of passion or achievement or meaning. I can think back to a college game or a high school game, or even now playing in, men's league, beer league. I'm out on the ice for an hour and a half. The rest of the world is gone. I am just moved by that moment. You played at such a high level. Where do you get those moments of, you're picking somebody off or you're making the big catch, getting it on the right side of the ball? Where do you get those moments in life now, or how do you bring those moments into work?
Twofold. A lot of the individuals that I'm still around are from that cloth. And so out of office, we can still, talk trash and do things competitive that won't get us injured.
Right.
big part to note. But I'm in some really fascinating organizations. And so sometimes they're so close to the thing that they don't understand how dynamic it is. It would be like if I rarely actually talk sports with my friends because we know it. It's like, I've watched thousands and thousands of hours of film, and it's, you just kind of know it. And so I'm not really going to be triggered by certain sports moments because it's just a natural flow of the job. Other people feel the same way. But if I'm coming in as an outsider, I'm trying to get them to understand, oh, this mineral that you're using, this is the value of it. Oh my God, that's so cool. This thing that you're manufacturing, I don't know if you understand how people appreciate it. And so you can kind of infuse that excitement for someone else in their job because I get a chance to learn about something that I've never really interacted with, or something that they're working on to change the world.
Yeah. So really, maybe what I'm hearing there a little bit is there's this unique inquisitiveness you have. Like, everything is a bit new to you, all these different industries, all these different segments. You're learning something new, and that's interesting.
It's super fascinating to me. And because they're so close to it, it's not really interesting to them anymore. And so if I can
Yeah.
bring the interest back into it by being generally interested in it as an outsider, then we start to raise the level, and then people start to invite you into their world. I get more fascinated talking about sports with someone that doesn't know sports, because I can actually walk them through, well, this is why this happened. And you can see like their excitement continue to raise. The goal is to create that for someone else that may be doing accounting or law or manufacturing, fashion, whatever the topic is. You can then bring that, oh, this technology does that. I didn't even know. Like, you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like they're so into it, they can't see the forest for the trees. And now you come in looking at the forest with awe and admiration that, wow, look at that beautiful tree. And they just didn't see it that way because they're used to it every day.
They're used to it every day. And I'm like, this is beautiful. You don't even know how beautiful it is because you didn't even scratch the surface yet. And then you get this, a lot of growth and change. If you can help people be forward thinking, forward minded of what else we can accomplish, then they start to get excited about that. But if it's just change for change's sake, or something that they can't get behind, we got to be more profitable, or we got to do this, people don't really latch on to that. It's this is the impact that it's going to have, and we're all into that mission.
Yeah. Just as an aside, I recently, my young child, 4-year-old, they had a birthday party for a friend, and it's very cold in the Finger Lakes, as you referenced right now. And so we went out and did this outdoor excursion at a natural place, a forest near us. And one of the things I took away from, I used to love to go outside. I used to do it all the time, hadn't done it in a while. And here we are with a bunch of 4-year-olds and parents freezing outside. And I looked up and it was this cross-country skiing place. And it really was these trees. And we were literally in the forest, and I could see the forest for the trees. And so I guess as you were saying that, I was thinking about getting them out of their comfort zone to see where they are every day and seeing what's right in front of them.
Yeah. Anything that I design is intentionally going to be away from what they already do. Once again, we got to create a different reference point so everyone is seeing this, thinking about it, hearing how other people think in a very safe, non-threatening, welcome environment. And then we're going to collect those insights and drop them right back on the problem. It's going to be designed to where they map on as accurately as possible. And then the light bulb is going to go off. And we're going to have a really amazing time doing it. Once again, my first real job was the NFL. I got a chance to yell. I got a chance to run. I got a chance to jump. It's a childlike activity, and work gets so rigid sometimes that we lose it doesn't have to be that way. We can still have an enjoyable experience. And once you start to infuse that, once again, people are incredibly talented. They're incredibly smart. They start to solve the problems on their own because they've been prompted and guided and have a different reference point of what the solutions could be.
That really just resonated with me and is such a powerful insight, right? We lose track of the joy we should be getting out of the things we care about, right? Sometimes a job is a job, but you just talked about the joy of getting paid to play a kid's game, right? Like Pop Warner, and you got to do that every Sunday. People signed up for this job, and we're hoping that most of them are there because they love the work, they love the company, and getting them back to that point of, why are we doing this? What's the joy in this for us? That really resonated.
Yeah, people get caught in the grind, and if I use a sports analogy, we have training camp, which is brutal. It's, almost 100 degrees. It's humid. People are tired, 2-a-days, all that stuff. But then on the other side of that, we get the locker room experience. We get the game day experience. We get our family and friends get to experience this, like all the other things. If you're in training camp mode for 365 days of a year, that's going to be problematic. And a lot of organizations are. They're playing real games during training camp, which is a recipe for burnout, a recipe for low engagement, a recipe for people being super dysfunctional. If you can start to infuse some of this other structure in there, then the light bulb's going to come on and people really enjoy their work experience.
And on game day, right, there's an outcome. There's an end. You won, you lost, you can take something from the loss, but how do you get people to see those game days and the work you're doing?
This is fascinating because people say, okay, sports has a clear win, defined metrics. And what I say is someone took the time to define a clear win, define those metrics. In the working world, we don't necessarily do that outside of financial targets, which don't always mean the same thing as to everyone. And so if an organization takes the time to define what phase are we in right now, what are we actually trying to accomplish? And the thing that people don't understand is just changing for the sake of change is not good. And so if we're moving the target and we can't define, once we get to this stop point right here, this is good or bad, and our people participate in it, they get a reward in it, we're all sharing the same scoreboard, then it's really hard to do that. And so I try to help people figure out what are the rules of engagement that will lead to success. What are the metrics that we know once we hit them, this is the end of this chapter, just to bring some type of order so you can have those super highs with people, or if you lost and need to recalibrate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as we were talking about, I was saying, like, win or lose a game, you may, playing at the NFL, you may say a season isn't lost on one game or one play. It's the totality of what we're trying to accomplish. We're winning a championship or winning a conference. And so what is that sort of big picture win for a company? And then what are those, individual games or individual training camps that you're trying to get them to see?
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what are you learning about yourself during this entrepreneurial journey?
It's not one that you do alone. It's one that you either have to hire a team or surround yourself with individuals that want you to win. And, I think everyone needs some type of team just because we are finite in our abilities. We could be really high performing in one area, but we do have areas that we're low performing that we have to find the right individuals to kind of join with us. But then externally, there's so many individuals that want to help, but they don't know how to help, or that you need help, depending on how you posture yourself. And so the more you can invite those people in, you realize that, oh, I didn't know that would be a easy solution if I just let you get involved. Oh, I didn't know that this process that I was doing is the wrong process and I should be doing it this way. There's an answer for every problem if you invite other people in. And that is probably the biggest thing that I've learned that continues to be helpful.
Yeah. Collaboration is really powerful. And sometimes as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, we don't have those moments of collaborative engagement. I'm either focused on this goal, or I don't know what you'd be willing to bring to the table or give to me. And so I guess bringing more people into your circle is how you find those opportunities.
Yeah, I do a lot of studying and researching on team versus teaming. And so your core team could be the individuals that are with you right now. But then to team up with someone and have more of a teaming effect, that's infinite, depending on what's needed at that given time. And what you'll realize, or what I've realized, is there's certain individuals that they're not working on VESSOL stuff. They're working on their own stuff. But we come together and trade ideas or trade resources or share certain things to where now the collection of the whole gets us where we need to be.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue to the next question I was thinking about, which is, how do you stay sharp and motivated?
I hate to pull everything back to sports, but there's a lot of film study. And so I'm documenting what's a win, what's a loss, how is this performance. I'm studying other people. I think of it as, the scouting of other talent out there. What are they doing? What's their approach from the big players to, players that are one person shops? It's the continuously learning in areas that may not even be related to what I'm doing, but it stimulates my brain in a different capacity, talking to individuals just to continue to get some of their institutional knowledge of how they do things, asking for feedback. I'm one of those people. I want to know what went wrong. Don't tell me what went right, because I'm trying not to make certain mistakes over. And so it's just this collection of different checkpoints that hopefully keep me sharp and growing and accountable to being the best that I can be.
Yeah, I'm guessing you've heard of like Malcolm Gladwell. Well, it wasn't his idea, but the 10,000 hour to be mastery. And obviously, if you're playing at the NFL, you've mastered your craft. Where do you feel like you are in the cycle of mastery of your new craft?
I don't know. And the reason I say that is every time I learn something, the trajectory changes and the impact changes. And so as you asked me when we started, I'd be like, oh man, this is way bigger than I ever thought it would be. And then if you ask me right now, just like, wow, there's so many other ways to add value because you're in conversations and you learn, or someone isn't clear about something or someone wants a different offering that is within the wheelhouse of what you can provide. And so everything's a learning experience to continue to improve. So I'm at a good place, but really excited about getting to an even more legal place.
Yeah. And I think that's I often, if I'm talking to young professionals or people on my team, I always talk about at some point, put your head down and do the work. And then when you look back and reflect upon where you are, you're going to see this growth. You're going to see progress. And as I'm going through this coaching program, I've done the core things, right? And I'm hopefully graduating in the next couple of weeks. That's a baseline, right? And now it really is, okay, you've been certified, you've been giving this base set of tools. Now, to your point, I want to go explore and I want to continue to learn. That's just the base point. Now I want to figure out what's out there and where do I fit in this world. So that really resonates with me, is that I guess what I heard you say is you're never really truly done learning and growing. And so maybe now you're seeing what else is out there for you in terms of to master or pursue.
Yeah, because and then you got to put it to work. And so I may learn something and know it, but then how to actually do that is a different equation. You just can't, passively read the playbook. You have to go play. You can't even just practice it. You got to go perform and play in traffic. And as you do that, then you have accurate data to say, oh, this is how this happened once it was stress test in a real live environment. And then you get better and you get better and you get better, and there's new levels. And so that will be forever. As long as I'm in the working world, that will continue to exist.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that I've probably shared on this podcast when I'm talking to younger people is all of these activities are building a toolkit for you, right? A toolkit of experiences that you can call back on. And you're like, oh, I remember that client and they were stuck here and this lever really worked for them. And so, yeah, you're constantly building this toolkit of experiences. And I'm really strong here. I'm really weak here. How do I hone or leverage those skills moving forward?
Oh, yeah. And I write down all the gaps, and it's either for me to go clean up or for me to go find a partner that can help with it. And you have to make that trade-off of which is going to be the better outcome.
Yeah. So I'm super appreciative of your time and you being on here today. We're kind of getting near the end. I guess I might just leave this big sort of open question. What advice would you give for others trying to pursue their passion so that they can lead with purpose?
I would say people already know who they are. They may not follow who they are because of ego, because of what they think they're supposed to be for, external validation. But if I look at the core of who I am, first generation born American, that is my first introduction to psychology of where are people from? Why do they do the things that they do? As an athlete, I love competition. I love change. I love growth. I love performance. As an amputee, change is a major factor. I'm essentially combining the things that are uniquely me into this package and sharing it back out with the world. And I think if people do that, they don't have to go find their purpose. It's already within them to a certain extent. Now they have to go develop it. But I think people know who they are more than they give themselves credit for if they search inward first and not get all complicated with external things.
Uh, Such a powerful point. One of our previous guests, Whitney Marshall, she's also a leadership coach. She had this change sort of happen to her. And it was when she went inward and listened to that inner voice that she really realized what she wanted to be doing. So I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we trust that inner voice enough and find that way. I just did an exercise with a client where it seems hokey, but it was, if you look inside yourself and look and had a flashlight, where is that inner voice? What does it sound like? What is it saying to you? And I just really wanted to echo, I think that's such a powerful vantage point of going inward before you can even go out.
For sure. We don't spend enough time doing it because we're distracted with good opportunities, but they're not the right opportunities for us.
Well, I'll dig a little deeper there and we'll make this the last question. Where do you find, or how do you find that time for that introspection or that inner voice?
I'm staying close to the things that I actually enjoy. And so I'm going to stay close to sports. I'm going to stay close to activities that allow me to move. I'm going to stay close to high energy individuals. I'm actually going to carve out time for freelance things, like whether it be watching a movie that's interesting to me, or traveling somewhere. And I'm filtering all those activities through who I want to be. And so the insights that I'm picking up along the way are unique to me and continue to layer on to my journey. And so that's just kind of what's worked for me.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I could do this all day. Super fascinating. I appreciate you being on today.
Hey, keep it up. Congratulations as you walk across the stage. I know you're going to keep adding a lot of value to people.
I appreciate it. This is the Walk On Podcast, people leading with passion and purpose, providing a roadmap for your personal journey. Hear their stories, find your passion, walk on. Again, Mo, thanks for being on.
Anytime.
Well, I was hanging